Over the last year, I spammed all of your community post feeds with random D&D polls I thought would be funny to get some data on. I tried to make them on things that'd be cool to know about, so by the end we could learn more about how the D&D community's brain works. And unlike the last time we did this, 40,000 more of you appeared to help out, so if you haven't seen these showing up in your feed, watch till the end and I'm sure YouTube will hook you up. Without further ado though, let's check out the results. Become a D&D class in real life. Artificer, Cleric, Druid, Warlock, Wizard. Seems the intelligent classes got the bulk of the votes, with Druid close by, but let's hear what the community had to say.
With my unlimited creativity and Artificer's ability to literally conjure metal, it wouldn't be that long before the government hunts me for sport.
Yeah, the second you reveal you have any special powers whatsoever, it's only a matter of time. Supernatural news spreads like wildfire, and you really can't trust anyone to keep a secret. Some random TikToker's gonna wind up recording you, every daily drama YouTuber's gonna milk the content dry, and you'll go missing a day later. Druid sounds like good fun. You can listen in on the birds who made a mess of your car and exact the perfect petty revenge. Or you could just become a cat for the rest of your life. Why even bother with human problems at that point? Wizard is the only way to become immortal, although I do need a lot of experience for 8th level spells. Looks up the nearest orphanage. You really want immortality in this economy? Could think of 100 better reasons to become a wizard, but if it's XP you're after, just farm any challenge rating 0 beast like rats or crabs and you'll get to level 20 in a few years. Choose a stat to max out in real life. Strength, Charisma, Constitution, Intelligence, or Wisdom. I could only put 5 options per poll, so I benched Dexterity for this one, thinking it'd be the least chosen option. Sucks, but what are you gonna do? Charisma won by a long shot because I'd assume D&D players all think they're socially anxious introverts, and Intelligence trailed close behind for some reason. No clue why, because just being a tabletop role player means you have an ungodly level of risen intellect, but I digress.
Picking Intelligence as your primary stat is the fastest way to discover why you shouldn't have picked Intelligence.
I mean, in the D&D sense, it helps you remember and retain info so much easier, and it's not like new stuff just pops into your head. You still need a lore reason where you studied all that stuff, but it'll just be way easier for you. In my case, I just use it to remember people's names, like random celebrity number 76 and the 12 controversies therein. But to be fair, I could see a lot of people with this much intelligence becoming completely intolerable, so maybe this commenter assumes it's a one-way street to losing all your friends. A wise person would say charisma, a charismatic person would choose wisdom, and a strong person would choose strength. I mean, have you seen how D&D players play? They min-max the heck out of things. So if a strong person already has like a 16 in strength, why would they pick strength when a different stat could be buffed up so much more? The first 2 points are good though, I'll give you that. Con is an underrated pick, at least for this question. It's a lot more passive than the others, doesn't feed into a specific skill, but the background effects of being alive and healthy are definitely something you appreciate more as you get older. Yeah, illness sucks, kinda ruins people's lives and all that, and for some of us is already a dump stat at birth. Also, if you're living in America, you're gonna want that to be your primary stat. Choose a dump stat to have in real life. Strength, Dexterity, Charisma, Intelligence, or Wisdom. I benched Constitution for this poll just because I figured D&D players knew how busted it was and wouldn't want to dump it. I'm also constantly sick in real life, so maybe there's bias, but regardless.
As someone who's sick frequently, I'm appalled that I cannot select Constitution.
Okay, now even though I said earlier that people will min-max, so dumping an already dumped stat would be smart, potentially dropping your con even lower sounds like an awful idea. Seeing as my charisma is already my IRL dump stat, I see this as a win-win. I mean, I guess this one's more fair, but kinda feels wrong to say, you know? Guess if you give people a chance to set their dump stats, they'll find every reason to self-deprecate. As someone with no dexterity or constitution, I see this as an absolute win. In this day and age, a lot of people can go with dumping strength or dexterity because the human mind's growing in value every day, so those mental stats are gonna carry you in the long run. Your favorite condition: restrained, blinded, poisoned, stunned, or unconscious. This poll was kinda weird because I didn't give any idea for why they would want to be your favorite. The easiest conditions to apply got the most votes, with unconscious easily taking the lead. I mean, I guess I also love unconscious because the sleep spell is so fun to use, but what's everyone else's reasoning? As a DM, stunned sucks. I'm fine with my monsters getting stunned, but I never stun PCs. Blah 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 blah.
I think this person's confusing stunned with paralyzed.
Stunned still lets you run around and use interactions, so I think people have been so stun-starved that they think the conditions are interchangeable. I mean, the only thing I know does the stunned condition comes from monks, so that'd make sense.
My favorite thing is when homebrew creators make creatures immune to unconscious, thus technically accidentally making them immortal.
Yeah, so most enemies in D&D are killed when they drop to 0 hit points, so this kinda doesn't make any sense. I didn't realize this was for D&D, and I was like, yeah, being unconscious sounds fun. Maybe I should have explained this poll a bit better. Whatever, next one. Your character gains plus 30 walk, fly, climb, swim, or burrow speed. Kinda disappointed climb speed has like no votes, but I guess most people's first thoughts for having a stronger character isn't having them climb faster. Fly speed won this by a ton just because nobody can deny how cool the concept of flight is. Then a vocal minority of veterans took over the comments saying how overpowered burrowing speed is. Let's put it this way. There are official D&D races published by WotC that have swim, fly, and climb speeds. There are no officially published races with burrow speeds. There is a reason for this. Yeah, so essentially burrowing speed gives you full cover while underground and the ability to bypass essentially any barrier that doesn't stretch down to the Earth's core. It's great and only a few monsters in the whole game have access to it. I chose swim as that also allows underwater breathing. I have no idea why so little people chose this. No, it doesn't, and that's why so many people didn't choose it. Look, I get it. Burrow speed is broken, but 1, I care more about RP than power building, and 2, if I abuse burrowing, my DM will hate me with a burning passion. That's incredibly fair if you want to see the poll in that way. All the other speeds are much easier to deal with, and even with all my experience, I don't know how I'd be able to deal with burrowing speed being a regular thing. Good take, good take. You can send your party to one of these locations. Which one do you pick? Well, this poll's multiple choice thanks to today's sponsor, Cheipeku. During the calmer moments of RPGs, game masters are always on the hunt for art to set the scene. For that, the beautiful sceneries painted up by Cheipeku's team can't be outmatched. Each comes paired with a battle map, making it super easy to swap between cinematic mode to turn-based combat at the point of a blade. And although static scenes exist, the animated ones are to die for and are sure to wow your parties the second they start looping. A lot of games I've played in leave their groups on empty black and white grids during narration, and I can't tell you how boring that is to stare at. Before I was a D&D YouTuber, even till now, I've been using Cheipeku's stuff, and their newest dive into sceneries makes them an easy choice as the ultimate one-stop shop for your mapping needs. They're the #1 RPG creators on Patreon, and a pledge at any amount gets you access to their entire backlog. Check out their stuff in the description below. But with that said, let's get right back to the video. Choose a damage type: bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing. I think bludgeoning damage has more vulnerabilities, and the Crusher feat is very powerful. That's pretty true, only the Rakshasa, a super specific type of fiend, are weak to piercing damage. Skeletons are much more likely to wind up in a campaign and are weak to bludgeoning. And I don't really know why slashing won. I guess most of my fans are just katana swinging weebs. Not hating, just saying. Roll a d20. The DC is 10. Did you succeed? Yeah, so if people did this one correctly, the number should be much closer to 55%, especially with the number of people who voted. I saw a lot of comments with people adding modifiers to their rolls even though I didn't say to, so that's probably the reason. Yeah, this poll didn't work at all. Moving on. Who would win in a fight? A 10th level D&D Barbarian or a 5th level D&D Wizard? You can't deny that spellcasters are better than marshals, but depending on some factors I never explained, the fight could completely swing in one of their favors. It all comes down to who goes first and how far away from each other they are at the start of the fight. Yeah, I guess everyone figured that the Barbarian and Wizard would be forced into a tiny arena with no way to escape, considering Barbarian won with twice the votes. Both have merit, but I've personally experienced the agony of being a wizard without a party to back them up. The Wizard's got one shot, otherwise it's toast. The best strategy that I can think of in the 2 minutes I'm letting myself write this segment would probably be the Wizard casting Hold Person, and then hoping it lasts long enough to whittle the Barbarian down before they succeed a save. Besides that, yeah, they're toast. For all you D&D players, how often would you like to level up? After every session? 2, 3, or 4+? I've been at the mercy of DMs who use milestones and then forget to level us up for half the campaign, so I'd like it to be pretty fast personally, but for everybody else, for me, it's a sliding progression. You level up pretty fast early on, but as you play for longer, it takes longer. That's fine if you play with milestones, but XP systems tend to throw juicy high XP enemies at juicy high level parties to keep the leveling speed about the same throughout the whole game. Just food for thought, but not everyone needs to run through the game that fast. We do it by story arc. Our level 15 party has been going about 2.5 years, and progression has made sense to us doing that. Yeah, a lot of DMs I know level up by story arc, and then their story arcs wind up taking half a year to end. I feel like players should be more open with how fast they want to level up in the game before a campaign begins. At the very least, it should be something that's cemented in during session 0, because someone like me can get upset upset at a lack of skill progression. Would you still want to play as your character if they were reincarnated as a different race? Yes, no, or it depends. I mean, personally, I'd feel kind of weird about it. I'm one of those Final Fantasy XIV, Monster Hunter World type players that makes characters to enjoy looking at the whole game. If you turn me into a Vidalkin or warp me into a lizard folk, I'm gonna be a little miffed, not gonna lie. Hey, I'm not the majority though, so let's see what all the normal people are saying.
Personally, yes, that would be really cool, but if anyone is planning on actually doing this, make sure to ask your players beforehand if they're okay with you changing a major part of their character.
Yeah, and the reason why you ask is because the race you pick is like 50% of your character customization, so changing that as the DM can be weird. I tend to get custom art of my character, so such a drastic visual change is hard for me to come to terms with. Oh, didn't even think about the custom art side of things. Yeah, imagine dropping like $200 on an art piece and 50 more on a miniature just to get race swapped a month later. The best food snack to bring to a tabletop gaming session. My favorite is Cheetos, by the way. This one wasn't really a poll, but 28% of the people who saw it agreed Cheetos were a pretty good tabletop gaming snack. How about everyone else? I'm all for pigs in a blanket, fingers clean, and limited crumbs and grease keep the play area and player sheets golden. Plus, they're pretty easy to make and can be made relatively cheaply. Personally, that's more of a lunch meal than a snack. I'd munch 2 in like 5 minutes, then wouldn't eat the rest of the game. Good table food, in my opinion, are plentiful, lightweight, and mess-free. I don't know, just feels like pigs in a blanket would be too heavy, but hey, maybe it's like an early dinner for you.
Pizza's definitely the best thing to bring. It's just so perfect for a game, you know?
Can't go wrong with the flavor of pizza, but it takes up so much space on the table. Maybe if you're playing with digital tools, you'd have more space to sit the boxes, but not a very ergonomic choice. Having a pot of coffee at the ready just feels right, especially for late night sessions. Now, you see, I was gonna agree with this comment until they said it was for late night games. If people need coffee to stay awake through the game, then maybe they should just go to bed, because a cup of joe's gonna spike their energy and ruin their chance to do so after. Only way this makes sense is if your whole party's a group of night owls and you're drinking coffee around the same time everyone else would do so in the morning. How do you feel about the current strength of pure marshals in D&D 5e? Combat plus RP wise. Very good, pretty good, perfectly fine, a bit poor, or very poor. I bring this up in like every other video at this point because I like annoying people, but yeah, 5e marshals are mechanically worse than spellcasters. Everyone knows this, it's not a surprise, and everyone who disagrees feels like it's a personal attack on their character. It's not, and we want WotC to make you stronger, we're on your side. Choose a number. 5, 4, 3.5, 3, or 1. Wow, what totally inconspicuous numbers that definitely have no correlation to anything at all.
Number 1 goes so hard it had to be written differently. Wait, reading the comments, I'm just realizing that you were asking about our favorite edition of D&D and not our favorite number. I've only played 5th, but I won't change my answer from my boy, the number 4.
Probably explains why 4 got more votes than 3. I hear people praise 3rd edition way more than 4th. Choose your goblin. D&D goblin, Pathfinder goblin, or anime goblin. Hahaha, funny sexualized anime goblin won! We got cuter muscle goblins in my Monster Girl manual that'd sweep this poll next time, but as for the other two, looks like D&D goblins won by a hair. I don't really know if I can properly pick between D&D and Pathfinder goblins. I used to hate the design of Pathfinder goblins, but it's grown on me a lot, and their lore is way better, and D&D goblins just look really cool. I don't really vibe with either, but I know I'm the minority in these situations, so take that with a grain of salt. Joe Cat Goblin is the best choice. Actually, very true. Joe sent me one for free because he's a super cool dude, and it sits right next to all my other cute plushes, and I love them so very much. What level is your newest D&D character? Don't have one, 1 through 5, 6 through 10, 11 through 15, or 16 through 20.
The question being about the newest character kinda skews the results towards lower levels.
Oh yeah, kinda true, but to be fair, even if I didn't specify your newest character, I swear the numbers would still look sorta like this. Promise I'll do this again just to prove it, so don't any of you start calling cap. Your DM suddenly gives you a level up, a magic item, a plot hook based around your character, or a pizza out of game. This poll's results are kinda good evidence for all you DMs out there to plan your adventures around your party's characters more. I put the pizza option just to test the willpower of everyone, but it looks like most of you held strong. Pizza is a magic item IRL, and basically levels you up IRL too, while giving you a plot point. Yeah, true, but pizza doesn't last 3 hours, your D&D session does, so I guess it's just less value overall. When my DM gives plot hooks centered around a character, they're usually traumatic, scarring, and stressful. Having had her go through several of them lately, the poor girl has had enough. I'll take the level, thanks. Whoa. Maybe that's something worth talking with the DM about? But hey, I don't know how your group works, and maybe you're fine with it, but just want a break. Take your level and move on, champ. God knows your DM forgot to level you up after the character arc anyway. And I just got around to making this poll, but choose your party role. Tank, healer, utility, or damage. Sometimes I worry that the data will get skewed if I don't specifically add the word D&D to the poll, but I'm also not selling this data, so I don't need to be that precise. In this game, utility tends to mean utility and also as much damage as the damage dealers, which is pretty hard to pass up. Huh, wonder what game they're referring to. But yeah, if you mean D&D, then you'd be right. The spellcaster meta is crazy, am I right? Forbidden, 5th option. Play a druid and do all of the above at once, potentially better than anyone else in the party. Yeah, have you seen the druids in Baldur's Gate 3? They're actually unkillable. Druids are crazy, and it's wild how much they're slept on in D&D. Tanking is always amazing. Nothing is cooler than getting hit by a laser beam capable of wrecking civilizations and just looking at the boss like, thank you, sir. May I have another one? Sounds like this person voted based on their favorite role in Final Fantasy XIV, which is fair because our communities kind of overlap. Thanks, Joket. If you want to join in on the fun, then like and subscribe for a chance to start getting these polls to start showing up on your homepage. Quite the contrary, I've been Blaine Simple, and I'll see you all in the next video.